Well guys, welcome back. We are out here with Willie Albrecht at Albrecht Farms, and we are doing something really awesome today, planting corn under film. So film over row is what this is called. Willie has the patent on this. We're gonna join him in a few minutes in the cab and talk to him about this system, and he's got a whole bunch of really awesome information, and I'll throw a whole bunch of really cool footage in here on how this system works. And if you guys have any questions, just let us know. Thanks for watching. So I'm here with Willie Albrecht of Albrecht Farms, and this guy is the master behind, the brains behind all of this film over row. That's what it's called, correct?
Yes.
And how many years have you been doing this?
This is the 6th year, the 5th year with my machine.
Okay. And you have a patent on this specific row unit that lays the film over the corn row.
Yes. Yes.
And you've built all these machines. So,
all 200 different versions.
Yes. So from what I understand in all the conversations with Willie, it's been a lot of trial and error, probably a lot of headaches,
to put it kindly,
to get it to this point, which, to be honest with you, I think this has been working really good. This is the first time I've seen this in action, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so,
it's been many hours, many late nights in the shop, many cutting things apart you just welded together the previous day.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's a system that works pretty good. So, first question, how much does this cost, like, to put the film down?
We're about like $109 an acre, give or take. Now the machine, you can see in the video, this is a little bit less because we're using a third less film compared to the other machine level.
Which is a good point. We have two machines out here running today. We have a skip row version, right?
Yep.
So we do 230s.
And then a 60.
A 60, 230s, a 60. So that's a little bit less than the 6-row machine, which is every 30 inches.
Yeah. For reference for people at home that aren't familiar, get a roll of saran wrap out of your kitchen and go lay it out in your garden for 50 feet and tell me how fun it is.
Yeah, yeah, that's about the consistency of this stuff. It's very, very thin.
Yes.
And this film is biodegradable. It will basically disintegrate in the ground.
Yeah, it needs sunlight and moisture. So you'll get some that'll stick around for a while if it's buried. But if you bring it to the top, there's not the tinsel strength.
Sure. So that's really good. It goes away. Some of these fields you mentioned earlier had like 3 years of film on.
The one we just came from it's had 4 times already. And I mean, there's some laying out there, but nothing to get in.
Sure. Yeah, there's very, very little that you could even see.
Yeah. Did quite a bit of testing the first couple of years, and we were anywhere from 2 to 350 GDUs we gained.
Wow, yeah, that's...
You know, and we gained the GDUs at the good time of the year, like when you're planting.
So what maturity corn are you planting?
Well,
I should start off by saying our normal maturity is what, 90 day, 85, 90 days?
Yeah, I mean, for dry corn, yeah somewhere in there. I mean, you could throw in a 94 day and bank on getting lucky.
Yep, but that's fairly long.
I wouldn't even know if I'd put all my ducks in a 91 day.
Yeah, right.
You know, and today was the first time ever I planted a 69 day variety.
Sure. Just
for curiosity's sakes. See what would happen if we mature corn early up here. And I've gone the other way. I've black layered 116 day corn under this.
Yeah, which you wouldn't even think about planting normally.
That's not the answer. The answer under the film lies somewhere in the mid 90 day and just getting more out of the bag.
Sure.
So the other planter we just set up, I've never been able to, in the same year, do a comparison of 30-inch rows to the 30/60s.
Sure. That's going to happen this year.
Yeah. What I have seen on a year-to-year data set is the 30/60s seem to out-yield the 30s in the sub-marginal.
Okay.
So like anything that's good to the wider rows seem to help. But if you took the top of the hill or your best fertility piece, there we're lagging a little bit behind. But when you start taking whole field averages, when a guy's shooting for crazy high yields, I don't know what's the right answer yet. So that's kind of the reason for the two.
Right.
Not saying one's better or one's worse. It's just
learning. It's all about learning.
And then throw in varieties, which are huge because nobody can give you information on something like this, and plant populations.
Yeah, which brings us to another good point. So we normally plant 32-ish, 34-ish, somewhere in there.
So right now with the skip in a row, I'm at 38,000 seeds per acre.
Sure.
I think Steve and the other planters running 45 today. We've done some tests. We're going to do some more where we've shoved it with the other planter up to 60,000 per population.
Yep. Where have you seen the best yields? Do you have any of that?
With this one right here, 37 to 40, but it's kind of dependent on moisture.
Sure. Okay.
Gone to 50,000 there. It seemed like the stalks got a little bit spindlier than you'd like.
So what happens when the corn pops through the ground and it's under the film? I think people would like to know. Like,
you walk away for a month.
It doesn't look real good, does it? Because it curls up under there.
If you've ever had corn snap back out of hail and it's twisted up and it's mangled up, it kind of looks similar to that.
Sure.
But when it pops out, like you think, oh boy, that corn's 6-8 inches tall.
Yeah.
And then when it pops out, it's like, how can that be knee high and be stuck under that?
Yep. But that's what it is. It's about knee high and it's kind of stuck under there.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get plants that'll shoot through because there's air gaps and other stuff in here. There's perforations, I should say.
Sure.
And you'll see what them are and you're thinking, boy, the other ones are lagging behind. And then when the other ones come out, they're not much.
That's crazy.
Not a whole lot of a difference. Now, if you could get every plant to come through the perforations, we would be on 300 bushel corn. We'd be going for the next goal.
Yeah, right.
This is designed to grow corn where corn wasn't meant to be grown.
Right.
You know, we're trying to do something totally different with it and increase yields. So, you know, that's where some of the struggles are. Because we're not just happy with it growing.
Right. We got to push it to that whole nother level.
Yeah. I got different varieties of film, kind of like days of corn. So right now, we're using a film that lasts a little bit longer with a little bit smaller perforations in it. We try to keep the heat in, to keep the plants under longer plant curve. As time goes on, I got different formulations with different hole spacings, shapes.
Where does the film come from?
This comes from Ireland. So, a company called Samco. Samco actually builds the machine, and now we speak, and either we're out. Yeah, we are out of film.
So we just got done changing film, which took about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And how long will a roll of film last?
So a roll is 1.25 acres. That would be on a conventional 30-inch roll spacing. So 6-row planter, you're roughly 8 acres you're going to get out of a fill. This one would be in the spacing, we're 6 rows, but technically we're a 9-row planter, so we're in that 12 acres of change.
Okay. What kind of temperature differences do you see under the film compared to the ground next to it?
It's about 5 degrees usually the first day, is what I've seen pretty regularly.
Sure.
And you'll gain that 5 degrees for about the first 3 to 4 days. Kind of depends on sunlight, you know, is it raining? Once you get about 20 degrees above the ground that's not under the film, it starts to dissipate heat out to the other stuff.
Oh, sure. It heats the entire ground here.
Yeah.
What's the earliest you've had corn tassel?
July 6th, 2 years ago, we got corn tassel.
So the saying here is knee-high by the 4th of July. And you have corn that's tasseling already, that's over your head.
Yeah, that's the earliest. That wasn't a complete field, but I could find a couple dozen of them out there.
Sure.
But by about July 10th, it was the So yeah, that's really that's the name of the game around here. So if we can get it off, rocking and rolling. One of the theories behind it is make sure it's never got a bad day.
Yeah, right.
You know, which is a struggle up here.
Yes, it is.
Guys talk about planting seed in the 55, 60 degree dirt. Well, here you'd be waiting until the middle of June.
Yeah, you would. You really would.
Yeah, that wouldn't be an option.
No. So at the start and end of each row, you generally have somebody back there Just putting a little bit of dirt on the film so it doesn't get ripped out. Is that the...
Yeah, and then touching up any spots. Not so much usually on the start. The start's pretty good. It's,
yep, sure. There's no ground or nothing to bring up to it, so just throw like they're just throwing a scoop shovel of dirt there and keeps it down.
And he's bringing you seed, bringing you rolls of film, touching up any spots that might come loose. It's just, you can do it by yourself. It just, you're twice as efficient. It's kind of like combining, and then combining with a grain cart.
Right. You're just twice as good.
Yeah. In previous years before, these are the new updated row units. Me and one other guy, I mean, you could do 70 acres with this machine a day, which might not seem like a lot, but that's 70 more acres than anybody else got planted.
Yeah. I would say for reference, Willie, there is nobody around here thinking about planting. Like, no, not right now. It's April 26th. Oh. What's the earliest you've planted?
Yours?
April 13th.
My goal's always been the 50. I'm like, I've found that to be this week.
I bet any money, Willie, people from Iowa would watch this and be like, would crucify us.
Yeah, right?
The dirt's not fit, it's not ready to go.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no such thing as fit dirt up here.
Yeah. If you waited for fit dirt, you'd be planting corn in.
Yeah, or you'd get one day.
Yeah.
So with this skip row, will you do, what's the herbicide program? Like the post,
so
or even
this
a cover crop?
We're band spraying with this planter. The other planter is actually physically spraying every inch, where I'm just spraying under the film.
Yep.
Because we got to get a herbicide under. I'll come back with Strellis and Measle Trion and clean it up.
Yep.
We'll run a little bit lighter rate, and then the wide row's been getting cover crops just to keep weed pressure down.
How long does it take you to make, like, if 6 row units?
So
start to finish, because this is built from scratch, like the ground up.
The last planter, I pretty much had 4 months tied up in building. I mean, that's from designing parts to, I cut out the prototype parts myself, and once I know something's going to work, then I get a local CNC machine shop to do it.
Sure.
Physically welding the row unit together, that's a day. I mean, I don't paint them. I have another guy that does that. Assembly, you can probably figure for another day. Waiting for parts, sometimes a month.
Yeah. Finally getting it all working.
Yeah,
it's all custom built stuff, so none of this stuff is...
No, and it's, it's one thing like, you got the whole row unit built together and built it on. Then it's, these newer style, they run off of air, so it's routing air lines, it's figuring out where brackets are to hold stuff. It's
right. A lot of little things that add up to a lot of time.
Yeah, and the other planter, that one is a scratch-built planter from the ground up, with just bought and go units.
Yep.
The whole, I mean, this bar I built, not the planter bar, the whole frame, but that one was, I mean, that was roll units and figuring out wiring and vacuum and...
So, moving forward with this in the next, say, 5 years, where do you see this stuff in 5 years?
I really don't know.
Can someone buy this? Like, if you wanted, would you sell?
Everything's for sale.
Are you crazy enough?
Do I want to weld them together and sell them? No, but maybe looking for somebody to do that kind of stuff.
Like a production shop that would...
I said the coolest thing about this whole process is take it or leave it to film. Either you want to try something new or you don't. But like on our farm, what we've learned doing this has just dragged the rest of the crop along with it.
Right.
Like when you got corn that's doing, even 240, 230, 250, you're like, how can I make the rest better?
Yeah. Sure.
So you're trying new things. You're like, and that's helped. I know the owner of Samco, where we get the film from, and they build their own machines. They just weren't necessarily fit for our application.
Right, in this part of the world.
He quizzes me all the time and asks, return on investment. Are you getting your bang for your buck? And when I tell him what we're getting for difference between corn under film and not under film, like I said, sometimes it's 50 bushel, sometimes it's 75, other times it could be 100. There might be a time where it's 30.
Sure.
And he's asked, are you sure them numbers make sense? And I'm like, well, they make sense to me all day long. But I said, what you fail to forget is what I've learned doing this I brought the rest of our crop along with.
Sure.
So it's one thing to compare my yields to my yields. It's another thing to compare these yields to the neighbor's yields.
Yeah, right. That's a whole nother ballgame.
You know, so.
Yeah.
But it's not for the faint of heart. This isn't let her down and go plant 200 acres a day and get out at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you're not doing your whole farm in this. This is not.
No.
I don't want people to think, oh, we're just going to go plant all our acres in this film. This is not how that works.
We're cherry picking good dirt. We're not planting in shade line spot where the deer are going to eat them.
Yep.
We're not planting down in the swamp because we usually can't get in there this time of the year.
Well, the water's bubbling out of it. So.
Yeah.
But another thing is what you've learned prepping your fields. Like, you can't just go into, like, this is not a no-till application.
No.
You're not going to get away with no-till. So having a smooth seed bed that's pretty well worked up, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be crazy deep. We just need like an inch or inch and a half worth of loose ground.
Just enough for those row unit discs to like throw the dirt away and then bring it back in.
You know, so we're high speed disking, and then we're coming back in and we're rolling it to pack it back down. We want firm but loose dirt.
Yep.
And you know that starts the year before. So going into fall, if my goal is 2, 3, 4, 500 acres, I prep everything a little bit differently in fall because not knowing which scenario is going to be the best for spring.
Right.
Your number one concern when doing this is getting the film to stick to the ground and get covered with dirt. You know, you're 3 or 4 down the line before you're caring about what the ground looks like for seed and what ground temperature is. That's the last thing on your mind. I mean, I think my saying was to a buddy last year, I said, we're going to see what happens when we do everything we possibly can wrong, but cover it up with film.
And last year was one of those years, it was wet, it was cool, all April.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a dry piece of dirt around and you still planted.
Yeah.
And had phenomenal results.
Yeah, and my best planted stuff was the day I told them we're going to see what happens when we do everything wrong.
Like when you look back and it's like, oh gosh, you know.
Yeah. And that came down to date. It's been the first planted stuff is, you know, there's a 20 bushel to 30 bushel swing in just planting.
Wow.
You know. And I'll be the one to say the first year when we used the machine to lay biodegradable film, I walked away from it. I'm like, I'm done. But I guess that's where keeping an open mind. And then June came around and you've seen 5-foot height difference in corn. And then when harvest time came around and you're like, oh, boy, the combine's got to be broke because we've never seen yields like this before.
Yeah. Open your eyes back up to the film, and here we are.
And then it got to be, well, I guess there's got to be a better way to build a mousetrap.
Yeah. Right.
And by that fall, I had a prototype built.
Sure.
Then it spiraled downhill.
Almost like an obsession, Willie?
I would say. The problem is, and I mean, you were talking about this the other day, is it's not a piece of hay equipment. It's not a piece of tillage equipment. It's not a track. Like, to physically test it, you got to get out across hundreds of acres, different scenarios, and you can't do that in fall. You can't do that in summer. Like, the only time is spring. So my test window is usually realistically 7 days.
Yeah.
And then it's put it in your mind for next year when you don't get done this year.
Right. Like you can't take it out behind the shed and run it for 100 feet and think, oh, I got to figure it out.
Yeah, I got it, because about the time you do that, it's going to be the totally wrong thing.
Right, you take it to the field and conditions are different, and
I've been there not once, not twice. But
don't even want to count.
You know, just as the field conditions change throughout, you could be on the same piece of dirt, work the same way. It's like, well, how come it was working great there, not now?
Yeah.
It's all them things that keep you on your toes,
right? And we were talking before, but your nitrogen use efficiency is a little bit lower in film corn, right?
Yes, it's quite a bit lower.
Yeah. Because you think it's because it's so efficient under there? There's so much happening? Like,
I don't know if we're getting stuff from the dirt that we normally wouldn't get, you know, because of temperatures so early in the spring, you know, if we're starting to
mineralize more stuff. Yeah.
You know, it's pretty crazy. Like all this corn, I mean, we have or just did where we put down some pre-plant nitrogen. But otherwise, for the last 6 years, I mean, that's the one thing we're lacking on this planter is a source of nitrogen.
Sure. Well, a large source, right?
Yeah. I'm waiting till the corn is out of the ground and it's starting to come out of the film before I start side dressing.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing any issues at all.
And you're doing multiple wide drop passes or side dress passes?
Yeah, so, and then, you know,
feed the corn?
Yeah, I guess my plan for the year is there is no plan. I watch and see what the crop does and adjust it from there.
Yeah.
Weather.
Right.
And go. And that's where the one huge thing that kind of pushes over to the other side of things is learning to scout crops more and learning to get out there and not just drive down the road at 80 miles an hour going, oh, that looks pretty good.
Yeah. It all looks pretty good from the road, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah,
except for when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of little things. I think that's pretty much goes for anything in life, right?
It does. Yeah. This is some really neat stuff. I can't believe how well it works. I'm just thinking, like, what can you improve on the road, like the row unit film laying part to this year? What are you thinking about?
Well, I guess that's above my pay grade, but there's some things I'd like to be able to control from the cab a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
You know, closing angle of the disc for one.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be nice just to adjust them a little bit on the go.
Sure.
And it's not saying I can't figure it out, but there's some more computer stuff that would need to be involved.
Sure.
And, you know,
well above my pay grade also, just so you know.
Yeah. Just,
yeah.
You know, it'd be more creature comforts than anything.
Yeah.
You know,
So, which I just thought of another question. Why do you have it planting and laying film at the same time? Couldn't you lay film after you planted?
Yes, you could. And I've done that. Problem being is when you're in the prototype stages, like if you go out and plant 40 acres and the ground is cold and miserable, you got to go out and cover them 40 acres.
And if it doesn't work,
you're struggling through it the whole way.
You're replanting 40 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the first 2 years, I'll be the one to say the first year when we used the machine to lay biodegradable film, I walked away from it. I'm like, I'm done. But I guess that's where keeping an open mind. And then June came around and you seen 5 foot height difference in corn. And then when harvest time came around and you're like, oh boy, the combine's got to be broke because we've never seen yields like this before.
Yeah. Open your eyes back up to the film, and here we are.
And then it got to be, well, I guess there's got to be a better way to build a mousetrap.
Yeah. Right.
And by that fall, I had a prototype built.
Sure.
Then it spiraled downhill quickly.
Almost like an obsession, Willie?
I would say. The problem is, and I mean, you were talking about this the other day, is it's not a piece of hay equipment. It's not a piece of tillage equipment. It's not a tractor. Like, to physically test it, you got to get out across hundreds of acres, different scenarios, and that you can't do that in fall. You can't do that in summer. Like, the only time is spring. So my test window is usually realistically 7 days.
Yeah. Well, that's it, guys. What do you think? How do you think this film is going to do this year? We're going to follow it throughout the year. It's going to be really interesting. Really appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time.